Hello and welcome to the Freedym Show. This is the daily show featuring 10-minute practical, usable advice from amazing, heart-centered lifestyle entrepreneurs. Because it's not just about the money, it's about the freedom. I am Ryan Lee, your host, your teacher, your coach, your mentor, and the founder of Freedym.com, the leading online education platform for freedom-minded people just like you. And if you want your free special gift, I've taken 15 years of my best lifestyle business strategies and condensed it down to just 3 pages. You can either go to Freedym.com, Freedym.com, or just text the word Freedym, Freedym, to the number 33444. So today on the show, we've got my man Brian Kurtz. Brian and I have been in a private small group mastermind for years. I truly consider him like a brother. He was behind the scenes for 30 years, I think it was 30 years, at Boardroom, grew the company, and at the height they were doing Brian will be more specific, $120, $140 million a year in publishing. And he knows it all, especially direct mail, direct marketing, products, copy. Brian has been there, done it all. If you want to learn more about Brian, now he's on his own. He's an entrepreneur. He's helping other entrepreneurs with really high-level marketing strategies. Go to his website at Brian Kurtz, BrianKurtz.me. That's .me. Brian, my brother, we got 10 minutes on the clock. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I never did anything for 10 minutes, so this is going to be.
We're going to have to limit you. And we're already 2 minutes in with the intro. Okay.
We're already 2 minutes, yes. And you're my mentor and my coach, so show me how to do it, baby.
All right, here we go. One thing I always found fascinating when you worked with Boardroom is you guys had best-selling authors that have sold millions and millions of copies of books, but never made New York Times bestsellers, and you did it all through direct mail. Take us through the process of, actual self-publishing print stuff.
Yeah, I think that the big thing is that the traditional way of getting a book published is just not the way to do it anymore. And there's so many models out there of people trying to get on the New York Times bestseller list, and a lot of them will work with a big publisher in New York, but then do some kind of launch strategy online and do something very aggressive to get those numbers up on their own. But to rely on anybody else to get your numbers up in terms of sales is a huge mistake no matter what you do. And this goes back, even before we had launch strategies to get best-selling books onto the New York Times list. So I think that the idea of being very self-reliant on yourself and being able to self-publish in one way or another. Now, sometimes you can find some boutique publisher that'll work with you, but you really have to take responsibility for your own marketing efforts. I think that's kind of the key piece. And so if you look at Boardroom, Boardroom was compared to a lot of the people probably listening here, Boardroom's considered a big corporate giant, and Boardroom, when I was there, went from $3 million to $150 million, as you mentioned, probably settled in between the $40 million to $100 million range most of the time I was there. But we had these resources available to us so that we could do major direct mail. We could take books that were in the trade and create mail order excitement about them and then not make them readily available, whether in the bookstore or even on Amazon. So I think the lesson is, I'm not saying the Boardroom model is going to work for the independent entrepreneur, but the lesson, I think, is self-publishing, doing it on your own, taking responsibility for your own marketing. And, you know this better than anybody, right? Because you've got a list of people who just, love you, they worship you for good reason. And I think list building first, having a great tribe before you publish that book, of course, makes it so much easier to sell more copies. So I think that people do underestimate the value of print. I think that, a print book still, look, you're an internet genius, and yet I'm looking on my shelf right now. I got a couple of your books, and they actually rest on a shelf because they're hardcover. And so, I think that there's still a lot to be gained by physical product. There's a lot to be gained by, sending somebody in print. And so I like the idea of, ebooks, of course, and even being able to use chapters from a book that you're working on as sort of the squeeze to get to a book sale. But I think, a lead generator that sells print books for shipping and handling only, that type of thing, and then getting people to opt in for something bigger, whether it's a coaching program or some of the things that you do and some of the things that I'm working on in terms of a mastermind. I think book publishing is such a vehicle for so many other things right now, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time. But the idea of getting a book on the New York Times bestseller list is another philosophy and another thing that a lot of guys want to do and a lot of gals want to do. And I don't know that that's part of a marketing strategy. That's more about building a brand, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in terms of print and physical mailings, I know you're obviously a huge, huge fan of direct mail. Now, most people, at least listening to this, probably have no desire to get into direct mail, renting lists and testing and postage and all the stuff that's required with that. However, your spin is a little bit different as well, Bri, talking about sending mail and physical stuff to people who are your best clients.
Yeah, and I also think on the back end of an online business, not on the front end. So to sort of deal with the objection, if people haven't hung up already as soon as you said direct mail, but if they're still on the phone,
they're listening on their
computer
or something.
You're on the phone. If they're listening, this is what I would want them to listen to me very closely. That I'm not suggesting that they go out and start prospecting through direct mail to pay printing and postage and all of that stuff. It's very complicated. And why would I want to prospect that way when email is so cheap? I'm going to agree with all of them on that. The thing that I would say, though, is that the ability to use direct mail on the back end, once you have somebody in your quote-unquote funnel, in your quote-unquote audience, whatever, however you look at your tribe, I think it's so valuable. People, I did a quick little survey. I was at a client recently, and there were a bunch of people in their mid-20s in the room. And I looked at one woman, she's 25 years old. I said, "Do you own a mailbox?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "That was good." I said, "Do you know what a mailbox?" Right. I said, "Do you know what a mailbox is?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you have one?" "Yeah." "How often do you check your mail? Once a week?" She goes, "No, I check my mail once a day." I said, "If you got in your mailbox that there were like a couple of things in the mail, brochures and stuff, and there was one big lumpy package with a handwritten address on the outside, would you open that first, and would you open it before all your email?" And she said, "Absolutely, yes." Now, I know that's a survey of one 25-year-old, but the fact is that people are going to pay attention to lumpy mail. Dan Kennedy calls it shock and awe packages. And I think when you have a customer base of people who've spent a lot of money with you, done a lot of things with you, you've calculated their lifetime value with you, the idea of sending them physical product on the back end of whatever you're doing with them, whether it's a free book, whether it's a free gift of some sort that's applicable to what they've been doing with you, whether it's it could be anything. If you were in the exercise area and you found a new exercise gadget that you could actually afford to send to 20 or 30 of your best customers in an envelope, I mean, you can basically wed people to you for the rest of their lives, and you should. And that's that. To people thinking that direct mail has got to be things that you send in the hundreds of thousands, you could send direct mail to 10 people, and that's still direct mail, and it's going to get opened, and it's going to be paid attention to. But you have to pay attention to what you're doing with that package too. You don't want to just throw stuff at them in a mailbox. But I think the use of all media, not just the internet and not just email, is critical, I think, to any marketing program and any time you're building a business for yourself. So I'm just a huge fan of kind of mixing it up as much as possible. And if one of the big things here is that everybody who's listening to this, if they start developing a customer base, really calculate what you think the lifetime value is of everybody on your list. And I think that as you start looking at people with higher lifetime value, the idea of keeping them on your list longer, using things on the back end, and it may not just be a lumpy package. It could be a print newsletter. Mm-hmm. I know you're really big on newsletters. I mean, you and I have talked a lot about print magazines and things that you're into these days. And the idea of a print newsletter, I think, is just sticks out from the crowd, and you're going to get read, you're going to get open, and people are going to their mailboxes. And if you have something really good to say, then they're going to open your newsletter. They're going to read your newsletter. I just sent to my list an interview I did about a year and a half ago with a really great marketer named Mike Capuzzi, and it was basically the secrets of newsletter publishing. It's on my site, so if people go to briankurtz.me, they can get that interview for free. And I really just talked about the power of newsletters, and whether it's paid, whether it's free, whether it's online, whether it's offline. But I think you gotta use every medium at your disposal. I mean, that would be the big lesson. And don't be intimidated by postage and paper. It doesn't have to be that expensive when it's in small numbers.
I love it. This is why I couldn't wait to have you on, Brian, because I knew you were going to share some really just powerful information that most people in this world do not talk about. Everyone talks about 100% automated, clicking a button, and there is a little bit of work, but if you do it, it can pay off big time. And thanks so much for being here, Brian. I know you're a busy guy. I'm going to mention your site one more time. It is briankurtz.me, and we're going to have a link to it on the page as well. So hope you enjoyed this episode of The Freedym Show. But have no fear, my friend. You know what's happening. I am going to be back tomorrow, every single day, 7 days a week. Brian, do we ever stop?
You never stop. You're my Energizer buddy, my man.
We never stop here at The Freedym Show. You can subscribe for free on iTunes. And thank you so much for all the incredible reviews and ratings. Really appreciate it. Have an amazing day. Until tomorrow, take care. Bye-bye, and have a great day.